What made a Tudor marriage? Was a church ceremony required? And did a couple need to do more than just say their vows? Well, the answer might surprise you. In Tudor times, a marriage could be as simple as an exchange of vows, but for it to be fully legal and binding, it also had to be consummated. Let's explore what truly made a marriage in the 16th century. In Tudor England, marriage was based on consent. If a man and woman exchanged vows, they were legally married. No priest, no witnesses, no banns were required. However, consummation was key. Without it, a marriage could be challenged or even annulled. This meant couples could marry anywhere, a tavern, a road, or even in bed. But if the marriage wasn't physically sealed, it could be declared invalid. And that's exactly what happened with Henry VIII's marriage to Anne of Cleves. He never consummated the union, allowing him to annul the marriage easily. Although the church tried to regulate marriage, it was difficult to control. By the 12th century, marriage was considered a sacrament, meant to reflect the union of Christ and the church. However, since only consent and consummation were needed, this did lead to problems, secret unions, disputed marriages, and legal battles. To fix this, the church encouraged couples to marry publicly with a priest, bans, announcements of marriage, and a formal ceremony. However, even without these, a marriage was still valid if it was consummated. This explains Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn's situation. Chronicler Edward Hall claimed they married in November 1532, but their official wedding wasn't until January 1533. The earlier event could have been a private exchange of vows followed by consummation, making them legally married before a formal church ceremony. Well, if you believed, like Henry, that his first marriage was invalid. Otherwise, he really was a bigamist. Marriage usually followed a sequence. 1. The betrothal or handfasting, a private or public agreement, sometimes with an exchange of gifts or rings. 2. The proclamation of bans, publicly announcing the marriage to prevent objections. 3. The exchange of vows, private or public, making the couple legally married. 4. Consummation, making the marriage fully binding and irreversible. Many couples saw betrothal as binding, and some even started living together before the church ceremony. This explains why 20 to 30% of Tudor brides were pregnant at the time of their wedding. Because a simple vow exchange followed by consummation made a legal marriage without all the other stuff, this led to controversies. For example, Catherine Howard and Francis Derham. They called each other husband and wife, and they had a sexual relationship. Could Catherine have already been married before Henry VIII? Then there's Lady Catherine Grey and Edward Seymour, secretly married, but it was later declared invalid because the priest couldn't be found. Robert Dudley and Douglas Sheffield. She claimed they'd had a private marriage, but there wasn't any proof, and this affected their son's inheritance. Without witnesses, disputes could arise, and courts had to determine if vows and consummation had occurred. With all this confusion, some people did decide to marry in church. Why? Well, because it provided proof. A priest's blessing and witnesses meant fewer legal disputes. The church ceremony included the exchange of vows, the giving of a ring, the blessing of the marriage, and the nuptial mass if Catholic. Even though a church wedding wasn't necessary, it became more common, especially after the Reformation when stricter marriage laws were enforced. So what made a Tudor marriage? Consent and consummation. If a couple vowed to be husband and wife and physically sealed the deal, they were legally married. A church wedding helped prove it, but it wasn't a requirement. What do you think? Would you have trusted a simple exchange of vows to make a marriage, or would you prefer a formal ceremony? Do let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Tudor history, then please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more fascinating history. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.